What if your body died tomorrow but you continued living? Not in a mystical afterlife or a fading memory, but in a computer, fully conscious, aware, and alive. Imagine your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, all transferred into a digital form. No heartbeat, no blood, but still undeniably you. It sounds like the plot of a sci-fi film, maybe something straight out of Black Mirror or The Matrix. But here's the startling truth. This isn't just speculative fiction anymore. Scientists are actually working toward making this a reality. Right now. Welcome to one of the most controversial, exciting, and existential frontiers in science: mapping. The human brain and the tantalizing dream of uploading consciousness. It's a field where neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and philosophy collide, where every discovery brings us closer to unlocking the very nature of what it means to be human, and challenges everything we thought we knew about life, identity, and mortality. But before we dive deeper, let me ask you something. Would you want to live forever if it meant living as a digital copy? Would that still be you, or just a simulation that thinks it's you? These aren't just philosophical riddles anymore. They're questions that scientists and ethicists are beginning to ask in very real, very urgent ways. Because if the human brain can be perfectly mapped, every neuron, every connection, every electric flicker, then in theory, it can be copied. And if it can be copied, it might be possible to upload that copy into a machine, a supercomputer, a synthetic body, a virtual world. But to even dream of uploading a consciousness, we first have to confront an almost impossibly complex challenge: mapping the brain. Before we go further, a quick pause. Every great journey starts with a few brave explorers. Right now, Cosmic Whispers is just beginning, and your support means everything. If you enjoy unraveling the mysteries of the universe, hit subscribe. It's free and it helps us grow this community together. So what exactly does it mean to map the brain? At its core, it means creating a complete high-resolution diagram of the brain's structure and function. But the brain isn't just any organ. It's the most complex structure in the known universe. It weighs about 3 pounds but contains roughly 86 billion neurons. Each of those neurons forms connections, called synapses, with thousands of other neurons. That adds up to over 100 trillion synaptic connections, forming an unimaginably intricate web of communication. To put that in perspective, the Milky Way galaxy has an estimated 200 billion stars. Your brain has more connections than that, firing, adapting, and rewiring every moment of your life. And unlike a computer's memory, which stores data in fixed locations, the brain stores memories, emotions, and knowledge in distributed, overlapping networks. One memory, like your first kiss, might be stored in the hippocampus, the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, and other regions simultaneously. And it might not even be stored in the way we think of storage, but constantly reconstructed every time we recall it. This is why brain mapping is such a colossal endeavor. One of the earliest and most ambitious attempts to tackle this came in 2010 with the launch of the Human Connectome project, funded by the National Institutes of Health. Their mission? To map the major neural pathways of the human brain using advanced imaging techniques like diffusion, tensor imaging, and resting state fMRI. These scans allowed researchers to visualize the brain's wiring diagram, revealing how different regions communicate and synchronize. It was like going from a blank map to seeing highways, freeways, and major intersections for the first time, but that was only a macroscopic view. To truly emulate a brain or upload a mind, we need microscopic precision. We need to understand not just where neurons are, but how they interact at the molecular level. That's where scientists turn to serial block-face scanning electron microscopy, a mouthful of a technique that involves slicing brain tissue into thousands of ultra-thin layers and imaging each one with nanometer resolution. In 2009, researchers at Harvard did this with a tiny piece of mouse brain, just 1 cubic millimeter. It took weeks of effort and generated over 1 petabyte of data, and that was just for a sliver of a rodent's mind. To do the same with a human brain, we'd be looking at exabytes of data, more than the entire internet's worth, and a task that could take years, even decades, with current technology. But some believe we might not need to replicate everything. Perhaps certain regions, the neocortex where logic and reasoning happen, or the hippocampus, our memory vault, might be enough to simulate a convincing digital version of someone. This is where the debate gets heated. Some neuroscientists argue that consciousness is emergent. It's not in any one part of the brain, but arises from the totality of the system. It's like a symphony. You can't just isolate the violins or the drums and call it music. You need the whole orchestra playing together, and yet progress continues. In 2015, the Allen Institute for Brain Science published the first complete cellular map of the human cortex. They used single-cell RNA sequencing to analyze the gene expression patterns of tens of thousands of neurons, revealing over 100 unique neuron types. Each type plays a different role in thought, perception, and emotion. These discoveries helped us see the brain not just as a lump of gray matter, but as an intricate ecosystem of specialized cells, all communicating in elaborate patterns. And here's where things get even stranger. Mapping the brain's structure isn't enough. We also have to map its activity. Neurons don't just sit there, they fire in sequences, rhythms, and frequencies. They oscillate, they harmonize. The timing of those firings, sometimes measured in milliseconds, can make the difference between a fleeting thought and a lifelong memory. This is why tools like optogenetics, which use light to activate specific neurons, have become so vital. They allow scientists to trigger individual brain circuits in real time and watch how thoughts unfold. Like replaying a mental movie frame by frame. It's like we're learning to read the language of the brain, one pulse at a time. But even as the technology advances, we're still haunted by a central mystery. What exactly is consciousness? Is it just data, code, and computation? Or is there something intangible, some spark of awareness that can't be captured by circuits and silicon? And if we can copy the brain, are we really copying you? Or are we creating a digital echo, a ghost in the machine? The path ahead is filled with wonder, discovery, and danger, and we've only just stepped onto it now that we've started to unravel the complexities of mapping the human brain. We need to ask the next big question. Once we do have this map, this detailed, intricate representation of every neuron, every connection, what happens next? How do we take this blueprint and upload a consciousness into a digital form? Can we truly recreate the unique essence of a person? Or is that even possible? Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out at a vast, endless ocean. The wind is in your hair, the sun is on your face, and you feel alive in a way that's hard to explain. Now imagine someone trying to capture that feeling, the breeze, the warmth, the moment of clarity, not just as a photograph or a video, but as an exact replica, a perfect recreation that you could experience again and again, as if you were back on that cliff. Would that be the same experience? Could it feel the same, or would it be different? This is the central dilemma of digital consciousness. Recreating the brain isn't just about replicating a person's memories or thoughts. It's about capturing the very experience of being that person, the essence of who they are. This is where the dream of uploading consciousness enters uncharted territory. Let's pause here for a moment and take a step back. To upload a mind, we need to get the data off the brain and into a machine. We need to figure out how to read the brain's electrochemical signals and turn them into something a computer can understand. It's like taking a digital photograph of your brain in its most active, dynamic state, every moment. But that's where the first challenge arises. The brain doesn't just store information, it processes it, interprets it, and even reinterprets it as you experience new things. This makes it incredibly difficult to record, because the data isn't static, it's always shifting. But there are a few promising technologies that could make this possible. Brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, have made incredible strides in recent years. These devices connect the brain directly to computers, allowing for two-way communication between the mind and machine. The most well-known example of this is the work done by Elon Musk's company Neuralink, which has developed a device capable of recording the brain's electrical activity in real time. Neuralink's goal isn't just to help people with neurological disorders like paralysis or blindness. Their ultimate ambition is far more ambitious: They want to create a direct interface between the human brain and artificial intelligence. If they can successfully decode the brain's signals, it could lead to a breakthrough, an interface that could upload a person's consciousness. But this raises some deep ethical and philosophical questions. Could you still be you once your mind has been transferred? Or would it just be a copy, a facsimile of your mind, but no longer truly you? Now imagine a scenario where the uploading process is possible. If we have a perfectly mapped brain, a machine capable of reading its signals, and an interface that allows us to translate that data into a digital form, we could, in theory, upload a consciousness. But that still leaves us with another big hurdle, the medium. Where would this digital mind live? In a supercomputer, in a virtual reality, or perhaps in a synthetic body that feels just like the real thing? Let's explore the potential of these scenarios. One possibility is that the uploaded mind could exist in a virtual reality, a fully immersive digital world where it could live forever, independent of a biological body. Imagine being able to walk around in a world built purely from data, a place where time flows differently, where the boundaries of reality can be bent and reshaped by the mind. In this world, the uploaded consciousness could experience anything, be anywhere and do anything without the limitations of physical existence. It could explore new realms of imagination, live out infinite lives, or even communicate with other digital minds. But here's the catch. Could this really be the same as living in the physical world? What happens to our sense of self if we are no longer tied to our bodies? The body plays a huge role in shaping our identity. Our emotions, perceptions, and even thoughts are grounded in the physical sensations we experience. If we were to separate ourselves from our bodies and upload into a virtual space, would we lose part of what makes us human? And let's not forget about the ethical implications. What happens when we start uploading minds? Will we be able to back up our consciousness like a file on a hard drive? Could we make copies of people, creating digital clones that could live forever? What rights would these digital beings have? And if one day the system crashes or the digital world goes dark, what happens to the consciousness within it? Is death still possible if you're living in a machine? To make matters even more complex, some scientists argue that digital consciousness might not feel the same as biological consciousness. Neuroscientists like David Chalmers have argued that the brain's consciousness is not just a matter of data processing, it's about experience. The brain is intricately connected to the body, and our sense of self arises from the constant feedback between mind and body. This theory, known as the embodied mind hypothesis, suggests that a disembodied digital mind might be a mere imitation of consciousness, but not the true experience of being alive. And then there's the possibility of living in a synthetic body. What if we could upload your mind into a humanoid robot, a synthetic version of yourself, capable of movement, sensory perception, and interaction with the physical world? This is the goal of companies like Hanson Robotics, which has developed robots with incredibly lifelike faces, capable of expressing emotions and having conversations. These robots are still far from being conscious, but the idea is there. Create a robot that could carry an uploaded mind and interact with the world, just as a human would. But even then we face challenges. For one, replicating a human body isn't just about creating a shell. It's about mimicking every intricate physiological process, from breathing to digestion to the chemical reactions that occur in every cell. The human body isn't a machine. It's a living, breathing system with millions of tiny processes happening every second. Could a synthetic body ever truly replicate the sensation of being human? Still, these are the dreams. These are the ideas that researchers and futurists are working toward. But as we approach the possibility of uploading minds, we also face a deeper question. Is it really worth it? What would it mean for our lives, our relationships, and our understanding of existence if we could live forever in a digital form? Would we become gods or something less than human? And what happens when technology advances to the point where immortality is within reach? These aren't just questions for the future. They're questions we'll need to grapple with now, because the answers will shape our world in ways we can't yet fully comprehend. And still, The dream of uploading. Consciousness persists. Now let's dive into a realm where the digital meets the existential. Imagine you've made it. Your mind is uploaded. You're living in a virtual world, or perhaps even a synthetic body, free from the constraints of time and the frailty of flesh. You can revisit memories, live out your dreams, and never feel the grip of aging or disease again. But then, you start to wonder, what is it that makes me, me? We've explored the science behind brain mapping and uploading consciousness, but what about the psychological and philosophical side of this? When you upload your consciousness, is it really you continuing to live, or is it a copy, an echo, that merely thinks it's you? This is where things get uncomfortable. The concept of identity, the very idea of what it means to be an individual, starts to break down in this new reality. We take for granted that we are the same person throughout our lives, even though our bodies change, our memories evolve, and our thoughts shift. But when you think about uploading consciousness, we face the hard truth. You aren't just your memories or your thoughts. You're not a static collection of data points. Yourself, that ineffable feeling of being who you are, is something much deeper, something more elusive. In a way, the concept of uploading consciousness forces us to confront a fundamental question. What does it really mean to be alive? And more importantly, what does it mean to die? When we upload a mind, are we simply copying the data, creating a perfect replica of a person's consciousness that can live on independently? Or are we in some way erasing the person themselves, leaving behind a shadow, a digital version that could never truly be the original? Consider a thought experiment. You're standing at the edge of a digital cliff, about to take the plunge into the machine. The moment you upload, your original self, your biological brain, still exists. It's you. But the digital copy, the one that will live forever in the digital realm, is also you. At least it thinks it is. So who is the real you? The one who is still alive in a biological body, or the one who has crossed over into the digital world? Here's where things get tricky. Neuroscientists like Christoph Koch, who has spent his career studying consciousness, suggest that consciousness is not simply an illusion, it's something intrinsic to the brain. But even he admits that the question of where consciousness resides is still unresolved. If we can create a perfect copy of your brain's structure and function, will that copy experience life in the same way you do? Or will it be like a machine running a program that mimics consciousness without ever truly feeling it? This brings us to the heart of the philosophical debate. If we create a digital copy of your mind, can we ever say that it feels like you? Would the digital version be aware of its own existence in the same way you are? It's like this. Imagine someone records every sound you've ever made, every word, every noise, every breath, and then plays it back. But when it's played back, there's no air moving through your lungs, no physical vibrations in your vocal cords. It sounds exactly like your voice, but is it really your voice? Is it still you? This dilemma is at the core of the concept of digital immortality, the idea that uploading consciousness could allow us to live forever. But could living forever in a machine or a virtual world actually satisfy our deepest existential needs? Would we be content as digital entities, or would we yearn for something more? Would the boundaries of our consciousness, our identity, even stretch into eternity? Or would we eventually feel trapped, like a mind endlessly replaying the same thoughts in an infinite loop? Now let's talk about the consequences. Because when we begin to upload minds, we're not just reshaping individual identity, we're reshaping society. Imagine a world where people are no longer bound by the limits of mortality. What happens when death is no longer the end? How will society function when the concept of a natural lifespan is thrown into question? We already know that technology can change society in unexpected ways. Take social media, for example. The ability to present an idealized version of yourself online has already radically altered how we view ourselves and others. Now, take that concept and amplify it. What if everyone could create a digital version of themselves, one that could live forever, evolve endlessly, and never age or die? The implications are profound. In a world where people can live forever in a digital form, the very idea of relationships, of family, friendship, and even love, might be transformed. If we can all upload our minds, then death might no longer separate us. We could visit loved ones in the digital realm, interact with them, and feel connected again. But at the same time, we would be confronted with an unsettling question. Would we still need physical relationships? Would they become obsolete if we could be together digitally, at any time, in any place? And what about the concept of legacy? In our current world, our legacy lives on through our children, our achievements, and our memories. But if we could upload consciousness, would the very idea of legacy change? Would it be more about creating copies of ourselves that live forever, rather than leaving something behind in the physical world? Would we stop caring about the world we leave behind because we can continue living in a digital one? This is where the idea of digital immortality intersects with some deep ethical issues. Who owns a consciousness once it's uploaded? Is it the person who created it, or the company that manages the technology? Could someone steal your consciousness? Could a copy of you be shut down or deleted, just like an app on a phone? And if so, would that be the same as dying? And then there's the final, most unsettling possibility. What if uploading a mind is possible, but it leads to unintended consequences? What if, in our quest to achieve digital immortality, we find that something crucial is lost in translation? What if we discover that our minds are not just data, but something more, a depth of existence that no machine can ever replicate, We stand on the precipice of this new frontier. One thing is clear: the future of uploading consciousness is as much a journey into the unknown as it is a philosophical and existential exploration. What will we find when we upload our minds? Will we unlock the door to immortality? Or will we open a Pandora's box that we can never close? So here we are at the final crossroads, where science, philosophy, and ethics collide. We've explored the depths of the brain, the potential of uploading consciousness, and the complex questions that follow. But let's step back and ask one final, crucial question. Should we even do this? Let's take a moment to reflect. Imagine you've lived your life. You've experienced love, loss, joy, and pain. All of it has shaped you into who you are. Your memories, your experiences, are part of your identity. And now in this brave new world, there's an opportunity to keep it all alive, forever. But before you take that leap, consider the weight of that choice. What if immortality comes with a price? What if the very things that make life meaningful, our fleeting moments, our capacity for change, the inevitability of death, are the things we must sacrifice in order to live forever? Would we still be us once the notion of mortality is removed? Would we find peace in an eternity of digital existence? Or would we feel trapped in a timeless loop, forever yearning for the next moment, the next experience that never comes? Take a step back into history. The idea of immortality isn't new. It's been a dream for millennia, from the legends of gods who never age, to the alchemists searching for the philosopher's stone, to today's cutting-edge research in genetic engineering and brain mapping. But every attempt to conquer death has had its own limitations, its own pitfalls. The ancient Egyptians believed in a form of afterlife, but only the pharaohs were allowed the privilege of eternal life. Even in today's world, where we've made remarkable strides in medicine, the idea of living forever still remains out of reach. For every advance in longevity, the question of why we'd want to live forever looms larger. And yet, as the technologies that could bring about digital immortality inch closer, the stakes grow higher. Some futurists like Ray Kurzweil argue that we're on the verge of a technological singularity, a point where artificial intelligence and human minds merge, bringing about a new era of immortality. For him, the promise of uploading minds and transcending the human body is the ultimate step toward human evolution. We'd no longer be limited by biology. We'd be free to explore the universe, solve the mysteries of existence, and even achieve a state of perfect knowledge. But this vision, this seemingly utopian future, is far from universally accepted. For some, the idea of uploading consciousness raises deeply unsettling questions. What happens when immortality is achieved only for those with access to the technology? What happens to society when inequality is compounded by the ability to live forever? Would we create a world where the rich and powerful live forever, while the rest of humanity is left behind, doomed to age and die as they always have? There's also the looming question of meaning. We live in a world where meaning is often shaped by our awareness of mortality. Knowing that our time is limited forces us to prioritize, to find purpose, to seek out relationships and experiences that matter. Without the threat of death, would we lose our sense of urgency? Would we become complacent, content to live in a world of endless repetition? Would we still value our relationships, our achievements, if they were no longer limited by time? And then there's the ultimate paradox of immortality. In striving for eternal life, we might inadvertently erase what makes life worth living. It's our fragility, our impermanence, that gives each moment weight. If life is forever, then every experience, every relationship might lose its significance. Think about it. If you could live forever, how much would you truly value a single day, a single moment? Would you cherish them as much as you do now, knowing that your time is limited? Let's bring this home with a simple but profound thought experiment. Picture yourself in a virtual world, immortal, free from pain, free from aging. The world is perfect, tailored to your desires with every possibility at your fingertips. But after a century, a millennia, even an eternity, how would it feel? Would the thrill of exploring endless worlds or revisiting endless memories still hold the same allure? Or would the weight of eternal life begin to feel like a prison, a never-ending loop of experiences that eventually lose their meaning? Would you begin to crave the end? Not out of despair, but because you long for the release that only death can bring. In the end, the dream of uploading consciousness, of living forever in a digital or synthetic world, raises more questions than answers. Is it a dream worth chasing? Could it truly lead to a better future for humanity? Or would it be a gilded cage that traps us in a perpetual state of desire, ever searching for meaning in a world where nothing is finite? As we stand on the brink of this incredible leap forward, we can't ignore the potential costs, the deep existential costs that might come with it. The future of consciousness, of immortality, isn't just about technology. It's about what it means to be human, to live and die, to experience joy and loss, to be part of a world that is constantly changing. So, as we look to the stars, as we map the brain and explore the frontiers of science, the ultimate question we must ask ourselves is this: what does it mean to live a meaningful life? Is it about living forever? Or is it about making the most of the fleeting time we have, cherishing each moment, knowing that one day we will all return to the stars? If you've enjoyed diving deep into the mysteries of the human brain, Uploaded, Consciousness and the Future of Immortality, share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think we're ready to upload our minds, or is this a dream best left in the realm of science fiction? Hit that like button if you think our quest for immortality might just be a little too ambitious. We'd love to hear from you, Satto Mini.